Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, October 13th. Patrick Tutwiler, the Massachusetts Secretary of Education, is our guest. Let's go on the record. Defending the MCAS graduation requirement is a ballot question, seeks to end it. With 3 weeks until Election Day, it's time for a cram session. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR, everyone. I'm Ed Harding.
And I'm Sharman Sacchetti. With us this morning is the Massachusetts Secretary of Education, Patrick Tutwiler. Before taking on his cabinet position in the Healey administration, he served as the superintendent of schools in Lynn. He also has classroom experience, teaching history at the high school level for many years. He holds degrees from Holy Cross, Harvard, and Boston College. Thanks for being here.
Wonderful to be back.
Great to see you. So let's talk about reality. If you look at the calendar, we're a little more than 3 weeks until the election, and let's take a look at the latest numbers. There's a recent Suffolk University Boston Globe poll that shows that voters, we were just talking about the ballot question number 2, that voters overwhelmingly support ballot question number 2, which would eliminate the MCAS graduation requirement. First of all, for the record, where do you stand on it as a graduation requirement?
I am adamantly opposed to eliminating the MCAS as a graduation.
So you want it to be a graduation requirement?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if I asked you why, since the voters are overwhelmingly feeling differently, why?
Well, first I need to name that the governor also shares this very strong feeling, and we come at this from a perspective of first embracing that Massachusetts has the best public schools in the country. In fact, even as we look internationally, people look at Massachusetts as a beacon of success in this space, and we didn't get to this place through serendipity or happenstance. We got to this place because of the incredible teachers that we have here in Massachusetts and their work closely with families and with students, and also because of a system of assessment and accountability that we have in partnership with the resources that we bring to bear on student learning here. The ballot question seeks to take a piece of this away, and we're deeply concerned about it.
Opponents of the graduation requirement include, and it's an impressive lineup, Congressman Jim McGovern, Senate President Karen Spilker, the Massachusetts Teachers Association. They argue that the test itself does not measure a student's full potential for post-graduation success. Rather than saying are they wrong, what are they missing?
Well, it was never designed to do what you just proposed, what they say it does not do. The MCAS is a measure of a snapshot of where students are relative to the standards. But
you would agree that some kids can't take tests, right?
No, I would not agree.
You wouldn't?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, I interrupted you. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, so the idea that student success on this test can somehow be decided on whether or not a student is good at taking tests or not, I think is false. I think any student can be successful on an assessment if they have the proper support toward being successful on it.
Well, some kids just aren't good at taking standardized tests. I mean, we've seen that bear out across the years.
Have we? I don't see that to be the case at all. In fact, as you look at the MCAS and the performance over the years, we look at the graduation data. Right now, 99% of students who meet all their local requirements pass the MCAS and graduate. Each year, about 700 students of the 70,000 graduates are not able to cross the stage because of the MCAS. We know who those students are, and I think we need to be focused on meeting their needs, not changing the entire system.
The Massachusetts Teachers Association says the state has already mandated standards for students. This is what the MTA is saying, and that having an MCAS graduation requirement is unnecessary for kids who do, in fact, struggle with standardized testing. Here's a listen to part of that argument.
We have report cards that provide grades based upon the standards and the framework. So every 5th grade student in Massachusetts in science has a standard that says differentiate between weather and climate. And so whether or not that student is in Brookline or in Brockton, that standard has to be taught to.
So here's my question. First, I do want you to respond to that, but also, does this mean if MCAS is removed as a graduation requirement, there will be no state standards in Massachusetts?
It does not mean that. It means that there'll be no state standard for graduation. There'll be no uniform standard for graduation, which
no uniform standard.
No uniform standard for which allows or creates a scenario for the 351 towns and municipalities in Massachusetts to decide for themselves.
Another part of the MTA's argument is parochial schools, private schools that don't receive public funding, their students don't have to take the MCAS. Are they not prepared as they graduate?
They don't take the MCAS, but assessment is a reality in those schools, and in many cases, uniform assessment. I just want to go back quickly to the suggestion that what teachers assess in class reflective of the standards is enough. I think it is deeply important, that scenario. And yes, it is important for teachers to assess students relative to the standards. It does not provide us a statewide snapshot on how students are doing. And as we go from one community to the next, there's often differences in teacher perception.
Hundreds of different standards.
Correct.
For children to meet if this goes
Perceptions of mastery of the standards. There will be no uniformity.
And some critics suggest that teachers teach to the test and not to the curriculum. Unfair, right? You're shaking your head. It's unfair.
It is a catchy phrase, this teaching to the test. I don't know what that means. I spent 25 years in the K-12 space, 15 years in a high school, both as a teacher and a principal. I can tell you definitively, that's not what's happening in Massachusetts classrooms. I don't even know what that looks like. Does that mean that each day there's test prep happening in classrooms across the Commonwealth? No, that's not happening. Instead, if I could just briefly finish.
Go ahead.
Remember what the MCAS is. It is simply a measure of the Massachusetts learning standards and students' mastery of those learning standards.
We could talk about it for the entire half hour, and I know Charmin is preparing a series of reports on the questions that are going to air on News Center 5 this week. The language might be confusing to you, the voter. So what does a yes on 2 mean?
A yes on 2 simply decouples the successful performance on the MCAS from graduation.
And a no on 2 means?
Means we maintain the existing standard that has delivered us to being the best public school system in the country.
Because sometimes the way the questions are written can be confusing.
I do want to ask you one last thing. We've seen a lot of ads up on TV for the yes side. We haven't seen many on the no side. Where's your side on this?
I can only speak for myself and the administration, the governor. I know that there's an effort out there. And I would just say this, as we think about this question and the election is coming, we're only a few weeks away. Think about the fact that Massachusetts is number 1. Think about the fact of what this question will do. It will move us to the company of only a few states in the country with no uniform standard for high school graduation. There's only 2 other states in the country that have that. 34 states require an assessment to graduate from high school. The remaining 14 or so have a course sequence that's required. The ballot question does not replace what we have right now with a system. It just eliminates the current system.
So let me talk about a branch off of that. One thing that we have learned from the recent MCAS results is that students are struggling mightily since the pandemic. Sure. On every test, students trailed their pre-pandemic peers by substantial margins, really. Why has the impact been so long-lasting? What's your thought about that?
Well, I have consistently said that the road back from the pandemic is not short. We're talking about human beings here who are deeply impacted by the pandemic. In Massachusetts, we continue to move forward, but struggle with chronic absenteeism. Last year, 19% of students in Massachusetts were chronically absent, which means they missed 10% or more, 18 days of the school year.
19%.
19%. It's down from 24% the previous year. We're trending in the right direction, but got to get kids back to school. That's a big piece of the success trajectory we're trying to implement.
It is important to mention kids do have a chance to retake this test if they fail it or if they miss it, even by a couple of points.
They have 5 total chances while in high school. There's also an appeal process, and then there's a third way, a portfolio mechanism that students can demonstrate their mastery of the standards that way as well.
Pat Tutwiler's in the chair. We continue after this.